Well, my guest is Billy Joel, who's got a new album out. It's called The Nylon Curtain. And it's, if we discount the live album in the middle, it's been like 2.5 years since Glass Houses.
Has it been 2.5 years?
This is a long time.
Wait a minute. That came out in 1980, right?
Beginning of.
This is 82.
This
Yeah. Wow.
is 2.5 years.
Well, I was on the road a lot.
Is there a reason? Is there another reason? I mean, why
We've
it's
always
taken so long?
pretty much been on time. Since 73 or 74, I've had an album out at least once a year.
Mm.
And
That's why I wonder this time 2.5 years.
well, it was the live stuff came out, the older live stuff,
Yes.
which we recorded while we were on the road. And we did the States, we did Europe, we did Japan, Australia, Canada, New Zealand. I mean, we've been doing a lot of traveling.
Not recently though. You've been laid up for a while, haven't you?
Well, I went into the studio last year to do this album, but I got hung up finishing it because I'd had a motorcycle accident, and that kind of threw the whole scheduling off and everything. So it's chalk it up to that. It was kind of a drag.
Mm.
It wasn't something I planned.
This has really hit me, this album. I mean, the first time, I'm used to it now, but the first time you hear it, it's a cold shower. It's really not what one would expect, which is good. I mean, you very easily could have come out with another Glass Houses, another Stranger or whatever, but this is very different. And I mean, I don't know if it was something you decided to do, to live dangerously. And
Well, we always try to do something different. Once we finish one album, we said, fine, okay, we've done that. And there's a certain amount of pressure from whether it's the industry or, pop pressure, whatever it is, to do the same thing again, only a little bit different, but I don't want to do that. As a matter of fact, when Glass Houses came out, we got a lot of criticism for it, because what does he think he's doing? He's not a rock and roller, he's a balladeer. And I say, don't pin me down to nothing. I mean, I do whatever we feel like doing. And this album, I said, okay, I've done Glass Houses, now I want to do something 180 degrees different, which is a lot more complicated. I want to make a quantum leap. Also, it took a long time to make. This is over 6 months in the studio making the album. Halfway through it, I wanted to take a gun and blow my brains out. So why did I decide to go, make this complicated record? But I'm glad I stuck with it. Now, the next album, maybe something 180 degrees the other way again.
sure.
I don't ever want to do the same thing twice.
It's good to live on the edge, isn't it?
That's the only way to do anything.
Is it, however, at this period when it's you've lived with this for a long time and it was done a long time ago, but now it's actually coming out. I mean, I'm waiting for people to react to it. Do you wait anxiously for people to react and hope it's going to be positive or what? Or do you not care?
I have to tell you, by the time it goes through my own filter, if I'm happy with it and I like it, that's as much control over it as I have. And I don't really get anxious about, what people are going to think, to tell you the truth. I don't sit around and read demographics and, will the 14 to 18-year-old or will the housewife, da-da-da-da. I mean, if I like it, I'm assuming that it's okay. I only know what I like.
Some very different topics you've dealt with in songs here that maybe you haven't tackled before. This first one on side one was about it's a typical town and how it's affected by the recession,
Right.
as far as I can hear. Allentown, Pennsylvania.
Right.
So why did you choose that town? Did you read something, or did you know somebody from Allentown?
In the early days of touring, there's a lot of colleges in that area, in the Lehigh Valley in Pennsylvania. And Allentown is a steel town. It's a mill town. And they make the steel for auto parts. And the first time I was there, I said, what a nice name of a town. It just has a nice musical sound to it. Allentown, like our town, any town, And I started writing this song actually 8 years ago, just the melody for it, and only recently decided what it was going to be about, because the recession has hit pretty badly, especially in the auto industry, and all these people who work in the plants or who grew up to believe that they had a future. All of a sudden, that rug's been pulled out from under them. And there's a sort of a hopefulness in it, but there's also a crisis.
Is it an observation or is it a comment?
I think
On
it's
the
an
times.
observation. I'm not trying to make a social comment.
But it does make it nonetheless, doesn't it?
I suppose ultimately, yeah, it would have that impact.
And it must be very difficult to actually be a songwriter and to be a human being and not to be affected by all these things. that
You
see.
can't live in this day and age and be in an ivory tower somewhere. It affects everybody. It affects your friends. It affects your family. You can't pick up a newspaper without knowing about it. And I worked in a factory, and that was bread and butter for me, and it's bread and butter for a lot of people, and it's it's important.
This next song, right, Laura, I've never heard a song about this relationship before. About it's a goddaughter and a godfather, is it not?
On one level, yeah. I didn't want to really give the person in the song a sex. What I referred to as Laura as a woman, obviously, but I didn't mean it to be that. I meant it to be anyone who knows how to give you guilt. And for a lot of people, it's mom. Only mom knows where to stick that knife and how to turn the blade. For some people, it's pop. For some people, it's the wife or the husband or the kids, in reverse. But it's really about anyone who knows how to push the right button.
And it's very Lennon.
Yes, it is. It is very John Lennon. That's my roots. That's where I come from. I mean, I think a lot of the songs that were written on this album and a lot of the way I'm singing it comes from the impact of his death had on me, or his life, actually. I'm a big John Lennon fan, and that's my roots.
All right, well, it shows here. Laura. My guest is Billy Joel, and we're running through some songs on his new album, which is called
The Nylon Curtain.
The Nylon Curtain. And this next song, a very angry song, and you sounding very angry, which is called Pressure, which it's, as far as I can gather from the song, I mean, it's very difficult to figure these things out and try and get inside your head, but it's not about you, or is it?
No, although I've had experience with pressure, it's sort of about getting to a certain age and knowing you have to deal with situations. You're going to be in a pressure situation. And I think there's some references which may be American in that, where I say
Channel 13.
Channel 13, which is a station in New York, which is the intellectual station and the college student station. And you can watch it and really never find out anything about real life.
Yeah.
I'm not to say Laverne and Shirley is the state of the art, but I think it's a lot closer to reality than Nureyev. I think.
Well, that's what I got out of it. It was somebody living in this unreal world. Sesame Street Time magazine, Peter Pan advice.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody who hasn't actually had to face up to the real world and the real pressures.
Right. It's sort of a come back and talk to me when you've been through the mill, Jack. Because I don't like to probe, personally, and you can tell me to get lost, but I mean, you've been through it a lot recently, haven't you? Yeah.
In personal life, pressure. And you found all these things piling up on top of you. But many people outside of the rock and roll business would think, this guy really doesn't know anything about pressure. Right? He hasn't got to worry about a mortgage. He hasn't got to worry about getting to work at 9 o'clock every morning when there's a train strike or whatever.
Well, that just proves how little they know. I mean, there is a stereotype image of a rock star, and he just jumps in his Learjet, and he just walks on the stage, and and then he goes back to his palace with his harem and his drugs, and it doesn't work like that. There's a lot of hard work. There's a lot of responsibility. I'm not kicking about it, but it is a job. A lot of it's a job. And, I work for a living. I used to feel guilty about it. It's, I make good money, and I get a lot of attention paid to me. I don't think what I do is particularly that wonderful. That's what I do. That's my, career. But I do work hard, and someone who just brings that up says, well, you don't really work for a living. I want to take that guy out and smack his lights out, because I work, man.
When are you going to get a real job?
When am I going to get a real job? But by the way, can you lend me $5,000,
But pressure's on you. I mean, do you really feel it? Can you can't close the door and say, get away, I'll deal with this in my own time?
Well, if I jump on the bike, that's the only way I get away from it. I take that motorcycle out. Whew. That's how I get away. But it's there. It's always there. It's not, lousing me up. It's not doing anything to me mentally. But it's something you have to deal with. Everybody's got to deal with it. And, I think it's a crucible. You go through the fire. But I think it makes you better. As my mom would say, it gives me character.
But it is a very angry-sounding song and a very different-sounding song, as many of these are on here. I mean, there's more guitars and there's more drums and it's more... I mean, I know Glass Houses, you deliberately said, right, throw a few rocks. I'm a rock and roll singer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you've really done it this time without really trying. I mean, Billy Joel Balladeer is buried forever.
Oh, I don't know. I may get back to him eventually. But I always liked, the Beatles used orchestration in a really clever way. They didn't use strings in a plush way. They used them to do melody lines, and they used them, almost integrated them into a rock ensemble kind of way. And I liked using strings, not as that kind of Neil Diamond, really Barry Manilow, plush, Valium strings, I call them. They're there in kind of a jarring way. There's a lot of synthesizers. I think on Pressure alone, there's 6 overdub synthesizers, and there's mandolins. We got 4 old Russian guys to come in and play these mandolins. And if you listen in headsets, actually, there's a lot of stuff going on, and you may not get first time on regular speakers.
This next song, this Vietnam song, now, I mean, it's called Goodnight Saigon. There aren't too many people writing songs about Vietnam. There's a few people making films now, and it's something that America, we see from here, is America just swept under the carpet, and that didn't really happen.
No, there was a lot of, I think in the late 60s, early 70s, political songs. Anti-Vietnam songs. Then there was your pro-Vietnam song, which is the Ballad of the Green Berets. There was never a song really written from the soldier's point of view, who was the guy over there getting his ass shot off. And just at this point in time in the States, people are just beginning to be able to deal with the whole Vietnam syndrome. And there's a lot of guys, especially my age, I'm 33 now, who went there. A lot of my friends went there. And I always wanted to kind of write a sort of All Quiet on the Western Front about, from their point of view, not whether it was wrong, whether it was right. It was just, how did you feel when you were over there? Because you were the guys who were on the line. And that was the intention of that song.
And it's very eerie, that start, especially in the ending where the helicopter, choppers.
That's a Huey, that helicopter. It's a Huey type, which is what they used over there.
Paris Island, that's where all the guys who were drafted, they went first for their, initiation or to
Well, that's the Marine boot camp on the East Coast. That's got a very tough reputation, Paris Island. All the Marines went there. It's in South Carolina. It's off the coast of South Carolina. It's like the Devil's Island of basic training.
And there is still this thing, though. I mean, people may be talking about it now, but there was a documentary here on television, which I don't know if it was shown over there, about Vietnam vets and the way they're being ignored. I mean, nobody's looking after them. I mean,
when they came back, nobody waved any flags. Nobody gave them a big parade, and they went over there and they fought, and they got kicked in the ass coming back. And as a matter of fact, I thought the fitting memorial for a Vietnam soldier would have been a statue of a guy carrying a gun with a screw going through his back. And these guys have never had a chance or an outlet to really talk about it, or they've never been encouraged to really get it out of their system. And like with the Falkland thing over here, it's, the guys came back and they're getting a hero's welcome. And our guys didn't get that. And I think they deserve some sort of mention.
Sure. I'm talking to Billy Joel, and we're talking about some songs from the Nylon Curtain, which is his new album. And let's turn it over to side 2, and a song called Right on Time.
Oh, She's Right on Time.
She's Right on Time. And after side 1, this one didn't fit somehow. Is it a song you wrote at the time? Is it an old song? I mean,
No. It's they were pretty much written in sequence almost. I think after the Goodnight Saigon, it's a bit of a, you know, you got to take a breath. And side two, the song She's Right on Time is actually about a reunion. Kind of a love song, but it's like a mature love song. And it's kind of up without being crazy up. And I just feel like it lifted after Goodnight Saigon. That's what you needed to go to.
It's about a Christmas homecoming, but I can't actually figure out from the song if she does actually come home.
Well, it's more in the mind of the person who's singing the song. It's all timing, see. It's a reunion between two people who've known each other, so there's obviously been a separation. And the Christmas, it just happened to be written around Christmas time, so I used the Christmas tree analogy.
But that's always the time of the year for reunions, isn't it? Christmas above all others.
Yeah, it does seem to fit, right?
But I see your point now about lifting you up from Goodnight Saigon. But first time it just didn't really fit in with the rest.
Yeah, but then again, you try to sequence it another way, and it would be, what am I going to follow that thing with? Because it's a real elephant foot, you know?
Yeah.
And she's right on. It's sort of a positive song, but there's still an edge of anxiety in it.
And from She's Right on Time to another, they're either, you've got the recession one, you've got Vietnam, and the others are all, apart from another one we're coming to on this side, it's all relationships, and relationships that haven't worked or aren't working or didn't work. This one, A Room of Our Own.
Well, they're human dilemmas, I think.
Yeah.
It's all sort of, it's experiences of what I call the post-war baby boom, which is about my age. I think it's from about 25 to 35, I think. That would be considered the post-war baby boom. And they're all topics that we've experienced, I think. And like the song She's Right on Time is about some kind of matured relationship, some people who've been together. It's not puppy love. You know, it's you're in your 30s, or you're in a marriage or a long-term love affair. And the song A Room of Our Own is about needing the separation. You know, whereas the one is the being together and everything's groovy and idealistic. This one is very sort of sarcastic about needing space.
Where you can't live together, although you still feel strongly about each other. It's like sardines in a can, saying this.
Right, you get that cramped up feeling, and you got your room, honey, and I got mine, but that's okay.
You know, the whole song is you got, I got, you got, I got.
It's yin-yang, but I like to do that a lot. You know, I don't think there is all black or all white. There's shades of gray and darker and lighter, you know? But there is a yin-yang in everything. Oh, I sound very mystical. There is a yin-yang. Where's the sitar? Ding, 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 ding.
That one's very much a companion piece. I mean, if I was doing sequencing, I would have thought that this next one, Surprises, would have gone before A Room of Your Own.
I would have too, but I must tell you, that was written in sequence. I mean, that's the song that just naturally followed Room of Our Own, and when I wrote it, and I'm not going to question my writing sequence.
Because this is about the actual breakup, Surprises.
Oh, I don't know about that. That's a song I'm not even going to attempt to explain. I think the only thing I could say about it is it's sort of a grand metaphysical statement. You know, so we're really not in control of things. I mean, people have different interpretations to it, and I don't want to take that away.
Is it a very personal song?
I don't even know myself. I'm still figuring it out. There's just a lot of imagery that all comes back to that thing of it shouldn't surprise you at all. Figure that one out.
Right, this next one, which is Scandinavian Skies, and is Strawberry Fields, I Am the Walrus. The two together. I mean, especially the beginning, right? The ending of this song is like the fade out on Strawberry Fields, and the beginning of it is like the fade back in when it comes in with the backward bits.
Mm-hmm.
No?
It's Beatlesque, yeah.
Very Beatlesque. I mean, Strawberry Fields on the fade, and all the instrumentation. This must have taken a long time to record.
It did. It took, I think it took 6 weeks to mix, even, because there were so many different things going on in it. This is another good headphone. song. I kind of like those little records where you put on those big, not the Walkman. You plug your headphone into your stereo set and you sat in a chair and you just, oh wow, listen to this, and you call up somebody. Did you know that there was a banjo way in the background of the? It's a little dicey explaining this song, but there are drug references in it. Put it that way.
Oh yes, getting off the plane.
Or even getting on the plane.
Getting on the plane. And about part of a European tour.
Yeah. I suppose it's a personal song in that respect, but it's that's another experience people my age have had. They've had their ins and outs with it.
But not a happy time, I don't think. The sound of the song isn't a happy sound.
No, it was pretty gruesome, I gotta tell you. It was a pretty gruesome experience. It was a pretty heavy drug, too. But that's sort of a summation of the whole drug experience, which is a down.
Well, the whole trip, you were on a trip. I mean, really.
Yeah, and there's a reference to playing the blues, which is really, the junkie's favorite music is the blues. And if you think about it.
I could have played the blues all night.
Right.
Ah, I see. I didn't get all this.
Yeah.
I thought it was just a grim tour.
No, this just made it grimmer. Although there's a dichotomy because the flying over the fjords of Norway, I mean, the clouds were beautiful, but it was eerie. It was just very eerie. It was ugly and beautiful at the same time.
When was this?
I actually started writing the melody in the early 70s on the first Scandinavian tour I did. Scandinavian skies. Nah, it sounds like an airline commercial. I'm not going to write that. But then when I was writing this album, I said, I have to talk about this. I have to mention this. It wouldn't be a complete album without having mentioned this experience we had.
From so long ago.
I think it was the particular experience was the 1980 tour we did, where we were supposed to play Oslo 3 different times, and we always had to cancel Oslo, so I had to put something in for Oslo. Hey, I tried. We felt bad too. The power didn't match or something.
With the Strawberry Fields ending. And, I mean, as you say, you have to listen to it with a pair of headphones on, and really,
Yeah, listen to it with an open mind, too.
And this final song, which is like nothing that's gone before, called Where's the Orchestra? And I've listened to it a dozen times, and I still really don't get all the imagery here and what you're saying.
It's basically, on one level, it sounds like a guy sitting in a theater, figuring he went to see a musical, and it turns out just to be a straight play. And he's saying, but, okay, I got it. I hear the dialogue. I see what the actor's doing. Give me a song. Entertain me. And it's sort of a symbol for, you get to a certain point in life and you go, oh, life isn't a musical, it's a play. And it sort of seemed to sum up the album. I understand, I paid my dues, right? And, this is the way life is, but where's the orchestra? You still don't get it. You're giving me a goo-goo-eye look.
It does sound, though, that it could come from a musical show.
Yeah, I wanted it to have sort of a show sound to it. This guy's, if you listen to the split and the stereo, the pan, the voice is all the way over on the left, as if a guy's just sitting all alone, and the orchestra, the ensemble that's playing, is way over on the other side. So that kind of leads you into what the setup is. And at the end of it, there is a reiteration of what the first song is, Allentown.
Oh, I missed that. What?
It's there's the orchestra, and it kind of fades out, and you hear a little piece of the melody of the first song, which we call a reiteration, which sort of ties it all up, I hope.
A reprise.
Yeah.
Why is it called the Nylon Curtain?
I don't really want to explain that. I gotta tell you, it should conjure up an image, a la, behind the Iron Curtain. The Nylon Curtain is sort of a rose-colored isolation, I suppose. It's seeing things through a filmy curtain.
Oh.
or being enclosed or surrounded by a gauzy, barricade.
So all the nasty bits are blanked out. You can't see the nasty bits. You can just see the nice bits.
Well, you can, but hazily, or myopically.
But you've talked about a lot of nasty bits in here. I mean, you haven't blanked them out in the song.
No. But it's still a rose-colored view, I think.
Really?
If you can come out of that and still be an optimist, which I am.
Is it still the same team on this? It's still Phil Ramone, same band, everybody?
Yep, still Phil Ramone. Although the sax player, Richie, isn't on this record, I really kind of got tired of writing songs based around a saxophone solo, and it was sort of confining, actually. I wanted to do something different. Plus, the guitar player we've been working with, David Brown, who's been on the last 2 or 3 albums, is really, really good, and I want to give him a chance to shine more.
As I said, I mean, more guitar in here, and more of liberty as well. I mean, it's really...
Well, we got liberty to listen to himself with effects, with headphones, and we put this kind of echo on the drum, and it makes you play differently. There's a matter of fact, on Scandinavian Skies, there's about 8 drum overdubs, different field drums and drum sets and snare drums, and we had him all over the place. There's a lot of effects on it. It was fun to do. It makes you play different.
That's the song that everybody's going to play around the world, and they're going to say, right, if you can tell me who this is, you win an album. That song, really.
Good. That's
good.
They
will.
I don't ever want to sound like me too much.
How about that, I mean, how long have you been off the road now?
The last tour we did, we came back from Australia, was summertime of '81, which is when I started to write the stuff for this album, and I went into the studio in November. So I really haven't been off that much.
And then you were laid up. I mean, how long were you laid up with this accident?
The accident happened April 15 of this year, and I really couldn't do anything until the beginning of June. I had a cast on, I had pins through my arm, and the left thumb was smashed, and the wrist was broken, and it was just a mess.
What happened? You just came off the bike or hit something?
I was driving down the road, and I was coming to an intersection. I had a green light, and a lady decided to run a red light on a cross street. So she zoomed through the intersection, and there she was. There was really no time to do anything, and my bike hit her car.
You went over the top?
I flipped over the top of the car. She kept going, and the first thing I thought of, I said, I'm flipping over. It's amazing when you have an accident how long it seems to take. And I laid on the ground. I had a helmet on, and gloves and leathers and stuff. I said, my bike. And I jumped up, because it's a cafe racer. It's an old Harley-Davidson cafe bike. And jumped up, and I was so mad. I'd just gotten it serviced, and it was running like a top. And I decided I'll try to drag it out of the intersection, see if I can fix it. And I noticed my wrist was swollen up like a balloon. And my thumb was, kinds of junk was hanging out of my thumb. I said, maybe I better go sit down. So I just got this cast off about 4 weeks ago, something like that.
Has that given you any new outlook on life? Because, I mean, I'm very lucky to come out of it with just that. I say just that, but it could have been a lot worse.
Oh, yeah. Just don't trust red lights anymore. There's some bad people out there.
But no great metaphysical...
inner visions
no
or...
great visions. Nobody came down from the skies and said, listen, you've had a chance.
No, not really. I enjoy life a lot more, I'll tell you that.
Right. I mean, this is all a bonus.
Food tastes better now.
This is a bonus now.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
What are your plans from here on in? Album comes out, I mean, naturally everybody on the road.
We're going to do... I guess we'll tour the States in the fall. Maybe November, maybe December, we'll do the States. And then after that, it's...
Coming back here? It's been a long time and they're very anxious.
Well, let's see, the last time we were here was, 80?
Wembley Stadium.
Yeah, that was 80. You know what, it really depends on how I hold up stamina-wise with my hands.
Really?
Because I don't know how long a tour I can do yet. I don't know how well I can play for a long period of time. And I guess I'll find on the States tour, I guess I should get a good picture of how strong the hands are. I don't want to say, yeah, I'm coming here, and then go, well, I can't really play.
Yeah, because I
like I
was
used to.
amazed at that show you did at Wembley, because the sound in there is not renowned to be the best, but the sound that you got out of that place was just amazing.
We got a good sound, man. Brian. As a matter of fact, he just did Simon and Garfunkel.
Really? Here? What, the one they did here
Yeah,
at Wembley?
he
Yes,
did.
that was perfect, crystal clear.
They did. My sound man and light man did the sound and lights for Simon and Garfunkel.
The lights, too. I mean, the lights, the best lights I've ever seen in your show.
That's Steve. Well, there's a reference to him in Scandinavian Skies. I said we were mainly sound and lights, which is the crew we've kept together along with the band. I've kept the same road crew. They all like to go on the road with me, and I like to go on the road with them. We have a good time together. They'll do Ted Nugent here, and they'll do this one here, but they love to it's like a gang, and we all get together.
Yeah.
And they do a good job. They do real good work. We're all on stage. We're all pulling together, and they'll be doing the show if I play here again.
What about, don't say if you play, it's just
when. Okay.
What about even further into the future? I mean, you have a great time and you're enjoying it, and I mean, you're this gang roaming around the world. But do you have any long-term things you want to do? Musicals, writing for other people, producing other people?
I suppose they'll present themselves. You know, there's some people say, when are you going to make a movie? I said, why do I have to make a movie? And well, the logical thing, you know, you're a musician and a pop star, and then you go into the movies. I say, who says you have to go into the movie? What's wrong with being a musician? You know, that's what I'm going to do for the rest of my life, is be a musician or write music. And I think things will present themselves as I go along. I like working in pop music. You know, I feel like it's a field I can expand somehow, or I can grow in. And I really don't have any long-term, but I can't think. I don't have a 5-year, the great leap forward 5-year plan. I'm just thinking of down the road, I'm going to make another album next year.
Well,
that's enough, man.
sure. We'll look forward to that one. Billy, thank you very much indeed.
Thanks.